In this video I will share with you a stock to buy that probably will rise thanks to a new megatrend that nobody is looking at. Stay until the end of the video because this stock will probably skyrocket in the future. Everybody are talking about artificial intelligence, everybody are looking for new megatrends, of course, related to artificial intelligence. This is something really good. NVIDIA, the performance of NVIDIA is a proof that artificial intelligence is going deeper inside our society, and the economy will be completely transformed by artificial intelligence, but the birth rate all across the globe is declining. And this means that probably in the next year we will have less people all across the globe. And of course, this data is publicly available. You can add, for example, as many countries as you want. What is really interesting is to see in this number is that the number of children is declining not only in the United States and in Europe, for example, but also in Africa. And this means that probably the economy will change a lot because we always think that the number of people in the world grow, but this is not true. And in the near future, in the future, probably we will have more and less children, and this will change the economy a lot. When I talk about the declining of the fertility, for example, the declining of children, I always like to do this example. This is London in 1984. As you can see, we have no cars, but at the time we had horses. So as you can see on the street, we have horses shit, okay? And in 1984, all across the globe, cities had a big problem with horses because, of course, the city were full of shit of horses, okay? And if we go, for example, on the internet, we can see, for example, on Wikipedia, we have also a page that explain the great horse manure crisis of 1894, okay? And if we go deeper in the page, we can see something really interesting, because at the time historian and other, let's say, analysts of the time said that in 50 years every street of London will be buried under 9 feet of manure. The reason was that more horses are needed to remove the manure, and these horses produce more manure. Okay, so in 1894, all the analysts were thinking that London, but also New York and also all the other big cities, in 50 years will be buried under 9 feet of manure. Why they thought this? Because all the time we try to forecast the future, we always think that the world will go on like we know it. But this is never happen, because of course London didn't have this kind of problem. Why? Because Mr. Henry Ford invented the cars, okay? And so no horses were needed anymore, okay? And yeah, it's 8084. Sorry, Sin. I'm very bad in telling numbers in English, so it's not 90, but it's 8094. So uh, 100 years ago. Okay, and so something happened that solved the problem. Okay, of the manure, horse manure. And of course, we created another one, which is the smog and the pollution created by cars and blah blah blah. Okay, but the error that we don't have to do when we try to forecast our future is to think that the world will go on as we know it, because history teaches us that all the time something happen that change everything. Okay, so for example, talking about the economy today, we always think, for example, let's talk about Apple. For example, we always think that this company can sell more and more and more iPhone because the population of the world is growing, but this is not true, because if we go and we see the data, we understand that we have a huge problem, because if we would like to have an economy which grow exactly like it did for the last 100 years, we need more people, and we doesn't have more people at the moment because the fertility rate is falling down. Everybody tend to have just one child and blah blah blah. Okay, so natality decline, which are the consequences? Okay, in the United States they say that if we will not have enough people working, of course we will have a push for the automation. Okay, and talking about the automation, we can talk about industrial automation. And last week, for example, we talked about Rockwell, Rockwell, yes, Rockwell Automation, which is a very interesting company. We can see something interesting because we said last week that this company is quite undervalued. Okay, and if we use this new tool we have implemented a few days ago in the Forecaster terminal, we see that we can definitely wait for this stock to reach again the top. Okay, the higher high. Okay, and very interesting, here we have a company which is growing its dividend year by year, and at the moment we can find a gap between the prices and the dividend. We can of course talk about Tesla robotaxi, talking about automation, because if we doesn't have enough people that would like to drive taxis, in a certain point in the future, the government will say, okay, let's go to full automation. Okay, but um, we I think we have to watch also outside the technology sector in order to find opportunities related to the declining in the birth rate. And I would like to show you some data. And for example, in this case, we can see that talking about people between 30 and 34 years old that have at least one child, in the 1993, talking about this specific category, it was 60%. Okay, in 2023 only we have only the 27%. So what does it mean? In 2023 only 27% of people with an age between 30 and 34 have at least one child. So from this data, we can see that something is really changing in the world, because we are doing child when we are older. For example, I am 40 years old and I have a child of 1 year old. And for example, my parents did something completely different, because they had me when they were 25, and I have also a brother. So we have a completely different situation, since like in this case, if we compare 1993 with 2023. Okay, and I found this meme, which is really nice, because it tells us how the society will change thanks to this trend. And if in 98 in the 80s we can find a family with lot of children. In this case, we have a family with 5 child. In 2024, we find families with dogs. Okay, and in this case, they had no children but only 2 dogs. And this is something it's really happening, because if we go to see the data, okay, I found only data related to the United States market, but the number of dog ownership is growing a lot. Okay, number of child is decreasing, fertility rate is decreasing. This takes to a new trend, which is an increasing in dog ownership. And this is something really interesting, guys, because of course we have to understand how the society will change. And if I need to pick a stock, a company that will grow in the future, of course I have to find, for example, a company which is in a sector which is growing. Okay, and which company can grow thanks to this number? If we go to the forecaster and we go to the ranking page, I know you love this page, and we go to S&P 500. Okay, here we can find the fair value of the index. The index is at the all-time high, but thanks to the fundamental data, we know it's still a little bit undervalued. If we go to the healthcare sector and we put the best towards button, look what we find. We find this company, which is Zoetis. This company, as you can see from the description, discover, develops, manufacture, and commercialize animal health medicine, vaccines, and diagnostic products in the United States and internationally. This is the right stocks at the right moment, guys, because as I show you with the data, this company is in a growing sector, which is, of course, the pet sector, and many family doesn't have child because of the decreasing of the fertility rate. Many people doesn't want to have many families doesn't want many couples doesn't want to have child, because it's very expensive today to have a child. Okay, of course they doesn't want to have 5 children, and this is why the economy will change a lot, but many people are looking to not have children and buying a dog, a cat, a pet in general. Okay, the data show us a really huge trend we have to ride. And Zoetis is a very interesting company, because look, as we can see from the forecaster data, is growing year by year. Okay, they have a very interesting ratio, because look, we have a profit margin of 34%, a ROI of 46. Guys, these guys are doing a lot of money. The redditivity of this business is huge. And look, talking about the intrinsic value of the company,
We are talking about a company which is undervalued. Very nice. Very, very nice. Talking about the solidity of the company, we are talking about a company which has a 7.43 of Altman Z-score. This company is solid, is not going to bankruptcy in the near future, okay? We can find this kind of Z-score for company like Apple. It's incredible. Talking about the Piotrowski score, we have a very good 7. It's a very nice company. Also talking about the Benisham score, is not manipulating earnings. Very nice. And look, value generation sector. We have a company which is decreasing the number of share year by year. It means every year they do a buyback, which is something really good for us investor. And look, talking about the weighted financial, we can see that the efficiency of the company is growing year by year. Look, all the metrics are growing year by year. And this is why the forecaster tell us that this company is robust. Okay, so let's go to see the new feature, because it's very, very interesting, guys. Look, talking about the dividend, we can find that we have a huge gap between the prices and the dividend, which is something really interesting, because as I told you at the beginning, stock prices tend to follow the results of the company. If we see the net income, we have a very interesting situation. Also in this case, we have a huge gap between the prices and the net income, okay? And of course, we can do the same talking about sales, and we can see exactly the same situation. So we have a really interesting company which is in a really interesting sector, which is growing a lot and probably will grow in the future. And all our system, starting from the fundamental page, going to the overview page, tell us that the company is undervalued. Okay, if we go, for example, here in the overbought and oversold section, we can find also here something really interesting, guys, because as you can see, we had a very interesting divergence between the prices and the oscillator in this case, because we had a lower low, but our indicator told us that there were more buyers than sellers, okay, in this specific period. So it's very interesting. And also talking about the speed of the prices, we can see we are in a good trend, let's say. Okay, let's go to see the seasonality of Zoetis, which is really interesting. We can go back for 10 years, and exactly starting from this period, we have a very interesting window of time. And if we scroll down the page, we can see that in the last 10 years, if we add a long position, a long trade in this specific date, we had a 90% winning rates, okay? So 9 of the 10 years we had a positive results with an average return of 11.3. Okay, in the last 5 years, 100% of winning rate with an average return of 15.5. And of course, here we go and we see which were the performance year by year. We can see that the only year where we lost, it was 2017, and we had a negative performance of -4%, which is something really interesting, guys. Okay, so we found a very interesting company thanks to the forecaster terminal, and of course thanks to the rankings section. Okay, I would like to invite you to the next webinar, guys, because next week we will talk about European stocks. A lot of you come from far away from Europe, but also in Europe, not only in the United States, we have huge opportunities at the moment on the stock markets. We have opportunities in Italy, we have opportunity in France, we have opportunity in space, Germany. And so I would like to invite you for this webinar where we will see which are the best opportunity on the European stock market. Thank you very much, guys. See you next week. And that's it. See you next week. Bye bye.